Introducing the Fertile Crescent. The Fertile Crescent. Carefully listen to the passage below. Answer the questions that follow. The Fertile Crescent. The Fertile Crescent is a term that refers to an area in the Middle East where the earliest known civilizations of the world began. The area got its name because the soil is fertile or rich, and the region is shaped like a crescent. Like a huge arch, the Fertile Crescent covers an area from the Persian Gulf through the Tigris and Euphrates River valleys and along the Mediterranean Sea. Some people refer to the eastern part of the Fertile Crescent as Mesopotamia. The western part of the Fertile Crescent is sometimes referred to as the Mediterranean Sea. Nomads settle in this Fertile Crescent. The Fertile Crescent was an ideal place for nomadic people to settle, build cities, and eventually develop civilizations. Sheep, goats, and various kinds of grains were found in abundance in the wild. With a permanent food source, there was no need to move around to find food. It was easier to grow crops in the rich soil and raise animals for food. People living in the Fertile Crescent were able to grow more crops than they could eat and raise more animals than they needed, so they could trade the excess crops and animals with others. As trading increased, the population grew, and the people needed to develop laws, keep records, and invent ways to deal with their new way of life. There was a need for a written language, mathematics, laws, medicine, agriculture, and other developments because of the many people living close to one another. The first civilization develops. When humans changed their lifestyle from hunters and fishers to farmers about 5,000 years ago in the Fertile Crescent, the developments and intentions that came from this change helped to develop the world's first civilizations. These civilizations have affected world history tremendously, not only in social and business areas, but in religion as well. Many of the great religions that exist in the world today had their beginnings in the area known as the Fertile Crescent. Later civilizations. The Fertile Crescent was not only the home of the first civilizations, but also the area where many later civilizations were developed. Some of the civilizations that developed in the Fertile Crescent were the Assyrians, Sumerians, Canaanites, Philistines, Phoenicians, Carthaginians, Akkadians, Hittites, Babylonians, Egyptians, Israelites, and others. Vocabulary match the definition to the correct term. Farming, growing crops and raising livestock. Is that describing the Fertile Crescent, nomadic, trade, agriculture, or civilization? From place to place with no permanent home. Is that the Fertile Crescent, nomadic, trade, agriculture, or civilization? Moving from place to place with no permanent home. This is an arch-shaped area in the Middle East from the Persian Gulf through the Tigris and Euphrates River valleys and along the Mediterranean Sea. Is that the Fertile Crescent, nomadic, trade, agriculture, or civilization? This is a high level of cultural and technological development, especially when systems of writing and record keeping have been created. Is that the Fertile Crescent, nomadic, trade, agriculture, or civilization? Exchanging goods or services with other people. Is that Fertile Crescent, nomadic, trade, agriculture, or civilization? The eastern part of the Fertile Crescent is sometimes called A, the Mediterranean, B, Mesopotamia, C, Asia Minor, or D, Egypt. What was one food source that was not available to the nomadic people in the Fertile Crescent? Was it sheep, grains, potatoes, or goats? Why were people able to begin trading with others in the area? A, they had extra food, a surplus. B, they ate everything they grew. C, they spent all their time farming. Or D, they lived close to one another. And last, which civilization was not developed in the Fertile Crescent? A. Sumerians, B. Israelites, D. Akkadians, or C. Minoans?